Hello everybody, welcome back. This is going to be the third time I have filmed this. I'm just going to take a deep breath. The good news is, as I have filmed this multiple times, well, we finished this one and we've moved on to this one that was totally empty. And yeah, I have finished this cutie and we are moving on to this. So good to have you here. Well, it has certainly given me the opportunity to mull over the thoughts that I have had and what I want to chat about. So it's great to have you here. And today, as you can tell by the name of the video this week, it is obviously Friday night drills. Does that make sense? Now, you may be questioning that and saying, well, of course it makes sense. It's Friday night and you're placing drills on a canvas. It makes total sense. Somebody else may be saying, no, it makes no sense to me because the name of the channel is Your Drill Instructor, and there is not a single exercise happening here. So let me explain where we're going with this whole thing. When I started working in my current company, let's just say I started quite a while ago, but maybe 4 or 5 years ago, there was a coworker who uses a certain phrase quite frequently, especially when explaining things. And that phrase is, does that make sense? Now, that's not something new or unusual, at least probably to most people. But let me set the stage here. I have struggled my whole life with thinking I am dumb. I am blonde. I am very gullible. And I have, I know I actually have a left side of my brain, but let's be very clear that it is not dominant. And in multiple sort of intelligence and personality quizzes, I don't know what you would call them. I am highly right-brained, and there's very little left brain focus. So when somebody says to me, does that make sense? I immediately think of myself as stupid. And my inner voice says to me, yeah, nobody thinks you're smart enough that you would get this as they're explaining it. So they have to make sure this makes sense to you. And it probably doesn't, so we'll have to explain it a different way. And I'm sure you are sitting there, mouths wide open, going, girl, we did not get that at all. Everybody says that phrase. It's very common, and it doesn't mean that. Well, okay, you're right, it doesn't. But to me, because of all my little inside baggage, that's how it comes across. Now, did I always think that this is just a widely used phrase? I remember asking my husband one day, I was fed up and said to him, when somebody says to you after an explanation, does that make sense? Do you take that to mean that you are dumb? And there's some more sixes. He said, absolutely not. It's just making sure that the way they explained it makes sense. And I'm like, but you don't take it to mean that they think you're stupid. And he just kind of gently shook his head and said, no. I was like, okay, well, that's how I feel when somebody says that. And I'm getting really frustrated. And is it that I'm dumb? It was just, I went on, and there was obviously no need to. And of course, now I hear it all the time. So there is that effect that I'm gonna have to look up, and I probably can't look it up on my phone because it's not that it's dead, it's just, totally filled to the brim. Where you learn something new, or you're looking to buy something and you're like, oh, I'm not familiar with that, I've never seen that before. You research it, maybe you buy it, and then all of a sudden you see it everywhere, absolutely everywhere, and you're like, well, I wouldn't have gotten this car if I realized so many people had it. So that's the effect. I'm hearing it, and at the time it just felt very personal, but of course once I step back and remove myself from it, it's everywhere. I mean, YouTube personalities say it all the time, commercials have it, TV shows have it, like, it's everywhere. It's not a personal attack. Another phrase that I hear more frequently, and I think it's because we have expanded the region we work with, is, look, at the end of the day. I felt like that was specific to one individual, again, who was from this region, and I thought it was just so funny. I thought, okay, this is their like, or maybe a stutter word, or just a comfortable phrase. It's all over the place. I hear, does that make sense? At the end of the day, all these phrases that are quite common, but maybe don't feel like a personal, I don't want to say attack, but in my head, maybe it was a judgment. I felt like there was this personal judgment that I was not as smart as this individual. What helped me actually was something that happened yesterday. So in some ways, I'm glad the original video didn't go up. I would have been okay with the second one going up that I just got frozen on. But I was in a meeting with an individual who was very kind and gracious because I had reached out to them for assistance with something. And this person is so kind and thoughtful. And as they were explaining, stopped and said, does that make sense? And I am sure I have the dumbest smile on my face. Let's say goofiest. Let's not say dumbest. Smile on my face as I immediately rewound everything I had talked about and recorded and thought, yes, it does make sense. Here's the truth. That was a good time to use it because I had come to them for help, saying, hey, I'm having a really hard time understanding this thing. Can you help? And so it probably was appropriate. It absolutely was appropriate. And again, not a judgment on my intelligence. But it made me think about the phrases we say or hear. So I have another coworker who was telling me about the phrase, using the phrase, that's crazy. John and I did a whole bunch of off-roading last weekend. One of the areas we went through was a burn scar from a forest fire. Now, I don't know how long ago this happened. I feel like it was definitely a few years based on the regrowth of the wildflowers and some like of the aspens and things like that. So it's awe-inspiring. And as we would go up and over ridges and see them, all I could think to say was, that's crazy. Just miles and miles, maybe miles is wrong, acres and acres of trunks, only trunks. The branches were gone. I actually didn't know. I thought when there was a forest fire, it burned everything. So I was surprised that there were still trunks. I mean, they were black matchsticks, but the trunks were still there. And that was incredibly unexpected. And so I felt like I couldn't describe it any other way but to just say that's crazy. As we sit and look over all of this, I couldn't come up with another phrase other than that. And that made me think about a discussion I had with this other coworker. And we were talking about the words and phrases we use. And she said she used to use the word crazy in quite a few sentences, descriptions. And then she had some exposure to, and I think we all have, individuals with mental health challenges. And she personally felt that it was disrespectful to use the word crazy in that sense, even though she wasn't meaning it in any sort of derogatory way. And at the time, I wasn't sure how I felt about it, but I paused after I realized on this trip that I was saying it over and over again and thinking, you have got to come up with another way to describe it. And I've kind of made that a goal for myself, is finding better ways to describe. And that is why awe-inspiring might be the phrase. I was gobsmacked. I was shocked, amazed. There are lots of other words I could use and not just jump quickly. So are there phrases that you hear or say that make you second guess maybe how you feel when you hear them or say them? There was a time when it was really common among my kids' friends to use the just kidding. I'm gonna say something really mean, and then I'm gonna follow it with just kidding, because that excuses it. I hear that today by adults, and it makes me, it doesn't make me mad. Well, you know what? It does, because I think you are saying something hurtful and following it with something to make it feel like, no, just because you feel bad doesn't mean I didn't mean it in a bad way. You're just feeling that way. So I think about that a lot. And we had the opportunity to actually do an exercise with a group and kind of show what saying "just kidding" after a hurtful phrase really looks like. But we did it with adults and had teenagers observing. I had warned the adults, but I didn't tell them what I was going to say. I just said, I need you to be here at the certain time, and I've noticed where this is a behavior that I think we should work on. Now, I am going to, before I go on with this, tell you that at the time, I thought it was very successful and that it had quite a big impact. And the truth is, it didn't. But I didn't know until years later that one of the adults I did this with, I hurt her daughter terribly just by what I chose to pick on. Spotlight and saying blah 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 blah, just kidding. Well, the hurtful thing I said ended up being very hurtful, and so I used to use this as an example quite frequently with a, hey, look what we did, and this was really successful. And I'm mindful that there were casualties in this, and the whole exercise that I was trying to do of making sure we don't say mean things and just excuse it with just kidding, well, that backfired. So use my example as maybe a what not to do, but I hope the point of what I'm trying to say comes through, because the way we did it obviously still wasn't as effective. Now, did this group stop saying just kidding? Yeah, they did. For that, I'm really happy, but I don't know that I'll ever gain forgiveness for the hurt I caused. So I think as we say our words and phrases, we definitely need to be more mindful of how we're saying them. Sorry, I don't know if you haven't been able to see the last little bit that I've been doing. Just let's think about what we're saying, how we're saying things, who we're saying them to. And we cannot, absolutely cannot, and do not know everybody's history. We don't know what they feel about themselves. I feel stupid. I graduated from college 7 years ago now, I think, with almost a 4.0, and I worked really, really, really hard. I still feel really stupid. I saved the math class till my very last semester because I knew it was going to be the hardest one. And I even implemented the method that one of my child's teachers used with them, because especially in math, they were saying, I can't do this. And she would have, if she had a student who said I can't, she would have them write their name at the top of the paper, followed by I can. And so I did that even as a grown adult. I wrote that on my math papers. to remind myself that I could. Was it easy? No, it wasn't. It's the lowest grade I had in my whole college career. Actually, that's not true. I think there was another one I got lower. But it's a struggle. It's still a struggle, especially the older I get, the less capable I feel. I'm so easily overwhelmed. I think about my mom. I wish she was here to talk to her about, hey Mom, I know you were going through this. How did you do it? Of course, we have some modern medicine that makes it a little better, but it doesn't solve it. I still struggle with my, the self-talk of, you're stupid, you're not smart, you can't do this, all the time. And it's hard. It's a struggle every day. Even doing something like this, I have to not compare myself to others. You know what? There are people who have incredible channels out there. They are fully like super speedy, and their canvases are beautiful, and all the drills are straight, and they can multi-place like nobody's business, and the video quality and their YouTube videos are fabulous. And I'm like, I'm sitting here with a full iPhone doing my best, just doing these goofy little whipping chats. And you know why? Because people are my priority. Math is not my priority. And maybe if I spent more time doing math, I would be better at it. It doesn't bring me joy. This brings me joy. So this is where I focus. And if you are wondering, as we wrap this up, how in the world am I filming this on a phone that is very full? Well, I will let you in on a little secret, because it is Thursday night and I lost my mind, and I said, hey, I gotta get this thing done because it has to be posted tomorrow at a certain time, and I still have work tomorrow and gotta go to bed. I went and grabbed my daughters and begged and pleaded and said, can I use your phone because I have no more space? And she has been with me several times while I have gotten the dreaded memory is full, and kind of laughed because I'm like, this is not happening. And so she was very kind. Of course, she was going to let me use her phone. So that is the solution. That gives me another week to figure out what in the world I'm going to do. And it shouldn't be this hard. But you know what? It is. For some of us, it is. And yeah, I'm sure somebody can explain it to me. And they may follow this step by step with, does that make sense? And we will just have to laugh about it, because you know what? It might not. I have had Google explain it to me quite a few times, and I still apparently don't know what I'm doing, because I think I get my phone a little more space, and it's not. So, thanks for joining, everybody. I hope this very long ramble about the words and phrases we use, I don't want to say hits home, that makes you think. I mean, what are some of the phrases, again, that you hear or say that maybe have made you think or pause? Or is there a word you found to replace something? I don't know. I'd just love to hear your thoughts about it. And hopefully we can get this to load okay. We will finish this one for sure next time and jump on to our final one from PaintGem candy set. Until then, I hope you have a great week. I hope you have plenty of phone storage, and I hope you hear and say words that are kind and uplifting to others. Thanks for joining me at Your Drill Instructor. We'll see you next week. Bye.